Hey y'all, this is Jamie. Welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we are going to do a little activity called This or That, which is kind of a tournament style activity to determine which of my eyeshadow palettes I seem to like the best. But before we get into that, question of the day: what is your ultimate favorite eyeshadow palette? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so I've got quite a few eyeshadow palettes here. I mean, it's nothing like spectacular, but it is more than average. So I've got a bunch of these. I've got more on my desk. So I thought, to kind of help me declutter a bit, so this is going to be a bit of a declutter video as well for my eyeshadow palettes. To help me do that, I thought I would kind of pit these eyeshadow palettes against each other and play this or that. So as I said, it will be a little bit of like a tournament style in that we're gonna have brackets. I'm gonna be saying, for example, this or that. Which one of these do I like best? We all know what the answer will be if you've watched my channel for any length of time. This one. So this one moves on to the next round. This one doesn't. And then we will continue on and on and on. So we will do our first round, and then I will take the winners and I will pit them against each other, and then we will continue and continue and continue, again, bracket style, until we get to the ultimate winner. I know that sometimes that seems unfair, but that's how brackets are. Because sometimes you have somebody who might have won, right? Like if you're playing a basketball game, if you're doing like the NCAA tournament, right? And you have these two teams that are playing against each other, and then these two teams that are playing against each other, right? This team wins over here, this team wins over there, but the team that lost over here is actually better than the team that won over here. They just happen to be playing a better team. But if they were playing this team over here, they would have won. Sorry, that was like long-winded. But sometimes, you know, tournaments aren't fair. But anyways, we are going to start. I seem to be speaking nonsense. Yeah, let's go ahead and start. Who are our first two players? Okay, so I really already did the first two players. Hanging in Hawaii won. The Desert Sage palette by Profusion Cosmetics is now off to the side. So moving on. Our next, I'm just gonna to make this fair. Our next two are the Ulta Beauty Sunbeam palette. Beautiful. Going against the ColourPop Raw Beauty Christie collaboration palette at Forest Sight. Who is gonna win? I actually really like both of these palettes. Out of the losers, I forgot to say that. Out of the non-winners, sorry, I was an elementary school PE teacher. I don't like to call them losers. I like to call them non-winners, or just the others. The team that did not win. But out of those non-winners, I will declutter. I will choose what to declutter. So out of these two, I have to say it's gonna be ColourPop Raw Beauty Christie at Forest Sight for the win. Next up, I know what this is because it's so gigantic. We have the NYX Ultimate Queen palette. This is the, how many is this? 40 shade palette, going up against the Suns Out Buns Out palette from Chantilly Cosmetics. This is a hard one because I absolutely love both of these palettes. This is what the Suns Out Buns Out palette from Chantilly Cosmetics looks like. Oh, I don't know, this one's hard. I feel like this one I use more often. This one is from a smaller black female owned brand, and it's more unique and I really love it. Really good quality shadows. I'm gonna go with this one. Don't tell Nyx, but we obviously won't be decluttering this one. Up next, I think I have my largest palette with my smallest palette. But so we have the Juvia's Place Culture palette, the Explorer. Super pretty palette, has a lot of shades, a lot of different shades as well. Great variation of colors. And then we have it going up against the ColourPop On the Mango Pressed Powder palette. Right here, it is an eyeshadow quad. It's got 3 matte shades and then 1 shimmer shade. So I think this is pretty simple. I do like this one, although I don't know that I've ever used it. Actually, yeah, I was just about to tell a lie. You could tell I've never even swatched this palette. I think that I can pretty much find a lot of those colors in some of the ones that I have already kept. I mean, not that I'm getting rid of that, but you know what I mean. I feel like I can find some of those colors in these two palettes. This may have been a good match to go up against each other, because I feel like almost this whole row, plus like one of these shades up here, is this quad. So yes, the Juvia's Place Culture palette wins this round. So the first one that I have is actually this set. I have two sets that are going against each other. So the first one, these are the Idol Cosmetics BTS palettes. We have the Butter palette, the Young Forever palette, as well as the Dynamite palette. So that one is going up against the Disney Color Collection from Beauty Bay. So this is the one I pretty much have videos for like all of these eyeshadow palettes. So if you want to, I'm actually thinking about making a playlist for just my eyeshadow palettes. And then I will link it up in the cards above if you want to go check that out. They're most likely, for all of these palettes, there's most likely a video to go with it. This one right here, this was the one that had the like classic, was based off like the classic Disney movies. So we have the Jungle Book palette, the Dumbo palette, and then the Alice in Wonderland palette. One of the reasons why I did this is because I feel like it's kind of pitting my two favorite things against each other, Disney and BTS. Not that I am choosing between Disney and BTS with this selection, because I am not. The BTS palettes win this round. All right, so next up, I'm actually going to put palettes of the same brand against each other. So the first one that we have, this is the Milani Gilded Terra palette. And then we have the Milani Most Wanted palette. This is in Burning Desire. This one's gonna be easy. The Most Wanted palette wins this round. So next up, I am gonna put a couple of ColourPop palettes against each other. So first up, we have the Lizzie McGuire What Dreams Are Made Of palette from ColourPop. Super cute, super pretty colors. And then we have the Witching Hour Hocus Pocus palette from ColourPop. These are like very different color stories. This one is more, which makes sense, this one is more of a like witchy fall palette. This one is more of a colorful 90s palette. 90s, early 2000s palette. So which one do y'all think I should go with? I actually think that there are a couple of shades, a few shades in here that they kind of share. Even though I gotta say I probably like Hocus Pocus more than Lizzie McGuire, and that's saying a lot because I loved Lizzie McGuire. But just watch this every single year. One of my absolute favorite movies. I think that the Lizzie McGuire What Dreams Are Made Of palette is gonna win this round. I'm actually gonna put my two newest palettes up against each other. So we have the Tres Luce La Flor de Mexico palette. And then we have the Hip Dot Thin Mints Girl Scouts palette, which has 6 shades. I think just because of the amount, I love this palette, I really do. But I think because this palette does also have a couple of greens and some browns, I think this palette wins it for me. We have the Pure collaboration with Robbie DeChristie. This was the 18 shadow palette, has 9 on this side and then 9 on this side. And then we're gonna put it up against the Makeup Revolution, the Lion King palette. I actually really loved this palette and the color story of this palette. I mentioned that in my video, but I love this palette. It's one of my favorites. Robbie DeChristie is again the winner. All right, then next up, we have from Suva Beauty, we have the Saffron palette. She is going up against the Cream Shop BT21 Universe Star Pop 9 shade palette. I think we know who wins this because I can't help myself. So BT21, the Cream Shop, you win this round. Next up, we have the LA Girl Hey Hey Vacay palette. And then that is going up against the Little Ray of Sunshine palette from ColourPop. I love the mustard shades in this, and I love that this is an all matte palette. So ColourPop, you win this round. So we only have a few more. I actually think we have the perfect, oh no we don't. All right, so this next one we've got This is from BH Cosmetics. I actually filmed a whole video for this palette and then I ended up not uploading it. This is the Lit List, this Miss Claus the Lit List palette that came with their 2021 holiday collection. So that one is going up against the Tati Beauty Volume 1 palette. So this was the one that has 6 different shades. Each shade comes in 4 different finishes. I think I already have my answer as well. Tati Beauty, the actual brand, is now no longer. So Tati Beauty wins this round. All right, and then lastly for round, I guess this is technically round 1. I keep saying for the next round on each thing, but technically this whole thing is round 1 still. So we have the Urban Decay Born to Run palette going up against the NYX Ultimate Queen. This is the 16 shade palette. So this one, I don't think there is a question. First of all, we already have the bigger one in the bigger one has already, oh my gosh, it didn't. Ooh! This is one of my favorite palettes, so needless to say, Urban Decay, you win this one. So I do still have one more that I have not gone through, but we will attach that to the next round. So round 2. All right, so first up we have, I'm just picking at random. First up, we have the 5 shadow palettes from Profusion that I just recently tested out as well. We have Honest Hibiscus, Romantic Rose, Terrific Tulip, and Pretty Poppy. And that is going up against the Raw Beauty Kristi Pure Cosmetics palette. So this one I did just pick at random. I closed my eyes and picked. So this is what it's going against. And I would say this round goes to Pure Raw Beauty Kristi. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So this one, we have the Idol Cosmetics BTS palettes going up against the Hangin' in Hawaii palette from BH Cosmetics. This, I have said for the past like 2 or 3 years, is one of my favorite palettes. To me, it's like the perfect palette to have if you just want like one eyeshadow palette in your collection. But it's going against my favorite band. Okay, because I have pretty much just kept these around for display purposes, I'm gonna say, again, I'm not necessarily getting rid of all the non-winners. We're gonna go through them at the end and I'm gonna declutter the ones that I don't want anymore. But I think I'm gonna go with Hangin' in Hawaii palette from BH Cosmetics. You win this round. All right, next up. Next up we have the Juvia's Place Culture palette going up against the Lizzie McGuire What Dreams Are Made Of palette. Now actually I think that these are 2 good ones to go up against each other because I feel like they have similar shades, which will probably make this a little bit easier. It has a lot of the same shades, like look at those. Those are pretty much the same. We have these greens that are pretty much the same, these pinks that are pretty much the same. So I think because of that, Juvia's Place is gonna win this round. So in this round, we have the Tres Luce La Flor de Mexico palette going up against the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. Born to Run palette is one of my favorites. So Born to Run palette, you win this round. Okay, who's going against Tati, since I know that's who that is. Okay, let's see. Ooh. Okay, so this one we have the Suns Out, Buns Out palette going against the Tati Beauty Volume 1 palette. These are nothing alike. They have very different shades. I think these might share like maybe one shade right there. Maybe the kind of taupe shade as well is pretty similar. I think I'm gonna go with, I'm not getting rid of either one of these, even when we do our declutter, but I think I am going to go with, all right, then next up, the Milani Most Wanted palette going up against the Lil Ray of Sunshine palette from ColourPop. And this one is very easy. We're going with Lil Ray of Sunshine from ColourPop. And then finally, we have the At Forest Sight palette from Raw Beauty Kristi x ColourPop going up against the BT21 The Cream Shop Universe Star palette. It's not my favorite palette. This is one of my favorite palettes. So Raw Beauty Kristi, you win again. Okay, So we moved on to our round 3. We only have this many palettes to choose from, so let's do it. I think it's, since we have it now, I'm gonna pit Raw Beauty Kristi against Raw Beauty Kristi. So we have the Raw Beauty Kristi Pure palette, the 18 shadow palette, going up against the At Forest Sight palette. Because there are just more options with this one, I think we're gonna go with the Pure palette, but we're not getting rid of that. Believe you me. Let's do our 2 like travel themed palettes against each other. So we have the Hangin' in Hawaii palette going up against the Born to Run palette from Urban Decay. I think I'm gonna go with the Hangin' in Hawaii palette. And let's put our 2 big palettes up against each other. So we have the Tati Beauty Volume 1 palette going up against the Juvia's Place Culture palette. And honestly, I don't think this is a very hard decision. I'm gonna go with this one. We're gonna go with Juvia's Place Culture palette for the win. Right, so that leaves one more that's just gonna go into the next round. So second to last round, let's do it. First up, we've got the Lil Ray of Sunshine palette from ColourPop going up against the Pure Raw Beauty Kristi palette. These are quite similar, in all honesty. I'm gonna go with, I think we're still gonna go with this one. And then we have the Hangin' in Hawaii palette versus the Culture palette from Juvia's Place. These are hard. This is hard. I'm gonna go with, ooh. I'm gonna go with this one. So we have, in third place, the Hangin' in Hawaii palette from BH Cosmetics. Now, let's see who is getting second place. We have the Juvia's Place Culture palette going up against the Raw Beauty Kristi Pure palette. All right, coming in at second place is the Raw Beauty Kristi Pure palette, the 18 shadow palette, which means that in first place is the Juvia's Place Culture palette. Now, I think one of the reasons I picked this is because this has pretty much every shade that is in those other 2 palettes. So that is our winner, yay! First place, second place, and third place out of all of my palettes. So let's real quick, to end this video, go through the non-winners and decide which ones I am going to keep, which ones I am going to declutter. So I think that I only want to keep maybe 10 palettes. So I have 3 right here. That means that I can keep 7 more from my non-winner palettes. So let's go. So I am just gonna like real quick make a decision, and then we're gonna see how many I have that I said yes to, and then we're gonna go from there and eliminate more from there. So Tati Beauty Volume 1, yes. As far as keep, not declutter. Yes, we're keeping. So I'll say yes for keep, no for declutter. Okay, Lil Ray of Sunshine from ColourPop, yes. At Forest Sight from ColourPop, yes. The Cream Shop BT21, no. Suns Out, Buns Out, yes. LA Girl, Hey Hey Vacay, no. Suva Beauty, Saffron, no. Disney Beauty Bay Color Collection, no. These I'm just gonna put separate because these I'm just keeping for display purposes, and that is the Idol Cosmetics BTS palettes. So I am keeping these. I'm not counting them towards my total because these are just gonna be for display. NYX Ultimate Queen palette, no. Lizzie McGuire, What Dreams Are Made Of, no. And I only say that because I feel like a lot of these shades are in the Juvia's Place one. So I love this palette, I love these shades, but I think a lot of them are in the Juvia's Place palette. So we're gonna get rid of that one. Milani Gilded Terra, no. Hip Dot Thin Mints, yes for now. ColourPop The Witching Hour, the Hocus Pocus one, no. Urban Decay Born to Run, yes. La Flor de Mexico from Tres Luce, for now, yes. Makeup Revolution The Lion King, no. Miss Claus The Lit List, super pretty, but no, it is a little messy. Okay, these Profusion Cosmetics 5 shadow palettes. I'm gonna say yes just to the Romantic Rose palette. This is the one that I used to create the look in that video that I did a review on those. The ColourPop On the Mango palette, no. The Milani Most Wanted palette, no. This is the Sunbeam palette from Ulta. Actually a pretty good quality palette, pretty small, but I am gonna say no because this is like a few years old. Ultimate Queen palette from NYX, the 40 shade palette. Yes. And then lastly, Desert Sage palette from Profusion. No. So here are the ones that are in my no pile. And then I have my yes pile. So let me count up my yes pile to see if I have less than 7 or less. 7 or fewer, because again, I already have 3 over there. I wanted to keep it at 10. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna keep it at that. So we have 12. So as a recap, we are keeping the Pure X Raw Beauty Christie 18 Shadow Palette, the BH Cosmetics Hangin' in Hawaii Palette, the Juvia's Place Culture Palette, the NYX Ultimate Queen 40 Shadow Palette, the Profusion Cosmetics Romantic Rose Palette, the Tres Luce La Flor de Mexico Palette, the Urban Decay Born to Run Palette, the Hip Dot Girl Scouts Thin Mint Palette, the Suns Out Buns Out palette from Chantilly Cosmetics, the At Forest Sight ColourPop Raw Beauty Christie palette, the Lil Ray of Sunshine ColourPop palette, and the Tati Beauty Volume 1 palette. So I actually wasn't planning on doing this as a declutter until I started filming. So yay, we've decluttered. I'm getting rid of 18 palettes, so cool. Alright, so that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can be notified when I upload every Tuesday and Thursday for beauty and makeup videos, every Saturday for BTS content, and then BTS videos kind of sprinkled in throughout the week as well. I'm pretty sure that I have, like, let's bring up the percentage. I know a lot of people mention this and I don't usually, but I feel like my percentage is a lot higher than people's usually are. Within the last 28 days, those who are watching my video, 94.8% are not subscribed to my channel. Only 5.2% are subscribed. So if you are one of those, especially if you made it to the end of my video and you are not subscribed, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. But that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.